All right. Well, let's talk for just a few minutes about basic rules to live by and hints for keeping your space looking decent. Not fantastic, but decent. So that people that drop in on you, some friends or some neighbors or the gas meter watching lady or man, is not shocked by the big pile of clothes in the sofa or the chair in the living room, or other things that are a mess, dirty dishes lying around here and there, that kind of stuff. You don't have to live in a dump. And if you follow these few basic hints, you can solve anything that would otherwise have you living in a dump. So this is the de-dumping discussion. I've become a little bit more aware of these basic rules and making them part of my life since I've lived here in Korea, because everything here in Korea is small. It's not made for people my size, and for most of you, not made for people your size either. It's made for people that are much smaller. There are times when I've had to move sideways to get my shoulders into a doorway for a bathroom in a public area. That's how small things are. And I would have to get up against the wall on the other side of the bathroom in the toilet area just so I could close the door and get some privacy. And then I could sit down and I would essentially be eating my knees or bumping up my knees against the opposite wall. That's how tiny things are. So you can imagine that a living space is equally tiny. Something may say that it's got 2 or 3 bedrooms, but each of those bedrooms, except for the master bedroom, which is usually a decent size, not large, but decent enough, the other 2 bedrooms would be basically the size of a walk-in closet. I'll give you an example. I have the door to the closet in one of my rooms open because I'm using it to have the clothes that are hanging on the hangers absorb sound. So I have a little bit better sound quality for this video. Otherwise, I would have those doors closed and have a little bit more of a neat appearance. And that's what I would use in my music room. Basically, that's where I also have my clothes, my dressing, my hanging clothes. The point is this: things are so small you can't really afford to be messy. Because if you have 1 or 2 things out of place, then suddenly the whole place looks like a pigsty. And you don't want to live in something that looks like it's a pigsty. So, without being someone who dedicates themselves to picking up and cleaning and all that kind of stuff, which I am definitely not. I'm not a neatnik at all. There are some basic rules that allow me to keep at least the appearance of hygiene and clean enough to be passable when visitors happen to drop by, or for myself, so I don't lose hope in my own humanity and think that, wow, I'm kind of an animal myself. Sometimes I just I want to have a clean place to live, right? So what are these rules? I'm going to give you seven tips. 7 tips. There's only 2 or 3 of them that are actual tips that you can use on a daily basis. The first of these tips is to touch things only once. If you pick up something, you pick up the guitar from one room, you bring it all the way to the other room and put it where it needs to go. Touch it only once. Don't move it to a halfway place where you happen to be going and put it down there, because then the mess or the item that's out of place just happens to be out of place in another area. Pick up things only once. If you're doing laundry, fold your clothes into a pile and move that pile only once to the final destination. Don't put them in a basket for you to empty and put away a little bit later with everything else. Touch those things only once. Live by that rule, and that's going to take care of about 90% of the problems of keeping your living space livable, right? And it's going to make you feel better about living not in a pigsty, right? Not in a junkyard, but in a home. Number 2, keeping a schedule. It doesn't have to be a hard and fast schedule, but a general schedule that says at the beginning of each week I'm going to vacuum everything, or here I don't have rugs except in one room where I have my office. That's bedroom number 3. So I don't really have any vacuuming to do. So I will do mopping or dust mopping, or at least cleaning the floors, because here we don't wear shoes. And so if you have dirt on your feet or dirt on your shoes and you track them around the house, you get the floor dirty. So it shows up pretty quickly. So running a quick dust mop or dust broom over your living space keeps your feet clean, keeps your home clean, gives the appearance overall that everything is under control. Keeping a general schedule so that you can stay on top of that very basic cleaning. And you don't have to get into it. It doesn't have to be a major project to get out a vacuum and a dust mop and a wet mop and do a major cleaning on your floors. If you just keep up with it, and it doesn't take very long. In 5 minutes, you can have the entire house dust mopped, right, or swept clean of any lingering dirt. Declutter regularly. Whenever you have a table, like you will probably see on a video that I'll have playing during this podcast or vlog, whatever they call this, that there's a little table next to my lounge chair, the lounge chair that I have in the living room. And on that table, you'll find my iPad, you'll find my phone, you'll find a coffee cup, which is pretty much a constant with me. There's a coffee cup wherever I happen to alight or sit for the day, right? And right now, it's by that lounge chair in the living room. Well, when I'm done with that coffee cup, or with the cup that may have a glass of milk or soda or adult beverage, when I'm finished with it, when I'm making my way to my kitchen for one thing or another, I'll grab that item and take it with me and put it at or near the sink so that it can be cleaned and washed and ready for the next day. I touch it only once to get it from the cluttering space to a place where it can be back in order. And I'll make a schedule to do the dishes. I'm one person, and so I don't have dishes to do 3 times a day. I might not even eat 3 times a day. So I'll let them pile up. I'll let them pile up for a couple of days, and then I'll do the dishes, particularly if someone is coming to visit, and I want to have the place looking decent for when they get there, because a little bit of dishes in that small kitchen makes the entire kitchen look cluttered. So I'll follow that schedule of doing the dishes every other day or so, right? Once again, it's a schedule. So a schedule for cleaning, making the bed. When I sleep, I'm not sure how you sleep, but when I sleep, I generally don't roll around very much. I lie down, or I sleep like a log, either on my back or on my side or on my belly. In any case, when I wake up in the morning, the bed's not a mess. And so making the bed is simply a matter of putting the blanket back the way it should be. Right? It takes me all of 5 seconds to make my bed. So cleaning, making my bed, picking up, decluttering, taking stuff and putting it where it needs to be, making that part of a scheduled cleaning, right? And then decluttering, constantly picking up things when I'm done with them and putting them back where they are at least stationed or staged to be dealt with finally, like glasses going into the kitchen so they could be washed with the rest of my dishes. Meal prep. Whenever I make something, of course I'll get out several different ingredients to make something, but as something is cooking up, if I have something in a pan and it's boiling or it's frying or it's preparing in some way, I have 30 seconds, a minute, maybe 3 minutes to take the ingredients that I've used or the bags that they came from and either throw those bags out or put the remainder that are in those bags back in the refrigerator or the cupboard or where they need to be. So by the time I finish cooking, the kitchen is clean of all the ingredients that I use for that cooking. The only thing left is to wash the dishes that I use during that cooking process. And if it's a multi-stage preparation for the food that I'm making, I can have those items that I'm using to cook even clean by the time that I've finished preparing the entire meal. Not all of them. The last vessel that I use for cooking, whether it's a wok or a frying pan or a pot, that still needs to be clean, and I'll do that with that pile of dishes, and I'll let go until I wash the dishes every other day. Right? Make a little schedule. Right? Have a drop zone, designated drop zone by the door to go out, or on the table in your bedroom. Right? Have that a place where you can put your watches, right, or your keys, or your wallet, so that you're not losing them in the covers or in your lounge chair or in your sofa or somewhere where you can't remember where they happen to be. Not in a pocket somewhere. The clothes that you wore yesterday that you forgot that you had changed into, take them out, right, and put them in that designated place. So we'll call that a drop zone. You can drop those things so that you can know every day where you need to go to pick up those items that you had the day before. So unless you're wearing the same clothes, maybe the drop zone is in those clothes. But if you're not going to be wearing those same clothes, then you want to put those items in some place that you'll know where they happen to be. So designate a drop zone in your house. Create one, a hook that you could put your keys on and your watch and the other items that are important to you, maybe an ink pen so that you can do a crossword puzzle every day. All of those things. And finally, do a nightly tidy up before you go to sleep. Before you go to bed, make sure all of the dishes that you haven't moved to the kitchen yet are moved to the kitchen and at least staged for that every other day washing. Declutter. Right? Pick up generally your house so that you don't wake up in a pigsty. That's very depressing. Instead, have it a home where you wake up in the morning and you think, wow, this is a nice place to be. I don't want to go to a coffee shop today because my coffee shop is here at home. It's just as beautiful. I can look out my windows and see the wonderful, wonderful horizon. And the mountains and the greenery. I can listen to the birds where I am. You can focus on something other than the mess that you have created the day before. Right? So, declutter at night. That's number 7. So, that's a basic list for keeping your house livable on a day-to-day basis. You can do it. Right? That's what keeps me going here in Korea. The benefit of it also is that I don't have very much. Because all the stuff that I don't need in this small space, rather than saving it up, rather than hoarding, I just go ahead and toss it. I get rid of it. So part of the decluttering is knowing what goes into the trash, know what goes into the bag of clothes that I am no longer wearing, so that I can take them away and I can give them out to the needy or otherwise dispose of them. Alright, so that's what I do. Anyway, I recommend those to you. Follow those basic rules and your home will look better. You'll feel better about it. If you've got a young family, your young family will feel better about it. And it'll form habits in any children that you might have as they're growing up, that they know that they have a responsibility to do the right thing with their own toys so those toys don't make a mess. That's it. That's it for today. Those are the tips for keeping a home instead of a self-created prison of mess. Okay? All right, guys. I'll talk to you more later.